So it's all right. Welcome to our lecture today. Today is lecture 16, and today we have a very exciting time because we are going to learn about blood. All right. So what is blood? So I was asking you preliminary, what is blood? Some people, some students telling me circulatory system. Some people think about the red blood cells. There is more technical description from you guys. It's a connective tissue. It's a fluid connective tissue, and all of what you said is true. And we are going to get from the very beginning. All right, so let's get started. All right, so for us right now, it is very obvious that when you cut a vessel, you know what is a vessel. By the way, what is a vessel? When I said vessel, what you're talking about? When I said a vessel, what is a vessel? Because that's what we are going to talk. What is a vessel?
Would it be similar to like a vein and artery or no?
Yeah, so I don't want not anybody should have any doubt about that. When I said a vessel, a vessel is an artery. It could be a vein. A vessel could be an arteriole. It could be a venule. It could be a capillary. All right, so that is a vessel. So please don't ever forget that, please. What is a vessel? When I talk vessel, what other word we are going to use? Vascularization, vascular, or vascularization. Vascularization or vascularize. So vascularize means the amount of vessels is getting an organ. Vascularization is the process of vessels that are formed in an organ. Vascular means vessels. Vessels, what are vessels? Arteries, veins, arterioles, venules, and capillaries. Don't forget that, please. That is very important because we are going to talk a lot about this. If you don't know the definition of vessels, we will be lost, right? So we are going to get clear. All right, we okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. So now look at that. So I'm asking you what is a vessel, and we have some kind of a little bit doubt here. But can you imagine 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, that actually we didn't know what is, you just have a cut and you're bleeding, and you don't know what is happening. So you don't, at that time they didn't know even what is a vessel, what is a component of the vessel. So where are the vessels? What is the difference between arteries and veins? They didn't know anything about that. And this guy Galen was the one who was in our era, in the first century and the second century. That is the time that was living. This Galen is the father of the anatomy in general, universal. So he's the father of the anatomy. So this guy, look at this guy. And this guy, and before that, actually they were thinking that air, when you're breathing, look at this. They were thinking that when you're breathing in, that blood is going to go, the air is getting into your arms, into your organs, into your brain. So they were thinking that air was like getting into the muscles, for example, directly, right? And the blood was a secondary thing. And this Galen was the first time he demonstrated that there was vessels called arteries and veins that are the one who carry the blood. So they were thinking that there was oxygen there, but it's not. There is no oxygen there is no air. Oxygen is oxygen in the blood, but there is no air. Air is like just air, so it's not like that. So at that time, can you imagine that we start from that stage? All right, so let's get started. So what is blood? Blood, as you know, is one of the four types of connective tissue, right? Connective tissue, we have the structural or hard connective tissue that are bones and cartilage. We have the fibrous connective tissue that is the ligaments and tendons. We have the loose connective tissue that is the loose fat, areolar fat, and the fourth is the liquid. The liquid is the actually the blood. Why? Just to refresh you, why is called connective tissue the blood? So why? Because the blood, what is doing the connective tissue? Is going to connect. So still not clear. So what the blood is going to connect? The connection between all the 11 systems that you have in your body: nervous system, muscular system, skeletal system, endocrine system, reproductive system, all of them. The blood is everywhere. So it's connecting all these organs, all these systems. So that's why blood is considered a connective tissue. You okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. So now, this is very crucial, very important. Let me see how much is, just a moment. 0.75. So I was 4 liters between 0.775 is 5 bottles. Okay. Okay. So now, why I'm doing that? Because of reason. Look at this. This is the number that you need to always remember. So, my God, I forgot the number. 4 divided by 0.75 is 5, and 5 divided by 0.75, 6. So what I'm trying to do here, all right, look at this. Liquid connective tissue, an average of 4 to 5 liters of blood total. So that is what you have in your body. You have 4 to 5 liters. So, and that is a magic number, because when we are talking about cardiovascular, we are talking about dehydration, we are talking electrolyte imbalance, etc., nausea, vomiting, whatever that is involved, loss or gaining volume of blood, you need to remember the magic name 4. 4 liters average. So the majority of the textbooks are telling you 4 liters, 4 liters, 4 liters. Okay, so 4 to 5 liters is a right answer. 4 is a number that you're going to keep in mind, that is easier to remember and easy to make calculations when you are doing that later on. Okay with that? So how much is 4 liters? 4 liters, that was what I'm doing my division. 4 liters, I was dividing how much is a bottle of wine? I don't have a bottle of wine here. A bottle of wine is about 750 mLs. 750, everybody knows a bottle of wine, right? 750 mLs. So this 750 mLs is like you have five bottles of wine. That is the amount of blood that you have. How much is 5 to 6 bottles? Because if you consider 4 to 5, is between 5 to 6 bottles of wine. So how much is 6 bottles of wine? Uh-oh. So if you go homework, you're going to have homework, okay? You go to Safeway and you're going to buy this display of bags. They have six compartments, and you're going to buy 6 bottles of wine. What you're holding there, that is the amount of blood that you have in your body. Okay, we got it? Okay, and that is important to know, because when you are losing blood, you're going to visualize how much blood the patient is in reality losing, and that's what we are going to see today. All right, so just to give you a perception of what is actually 4 to 5 liters, means 5 to 6 bottles of wine. Okay, because each bottle of wine is having 750 mLs. So altogether, it's about 5 to 6 bottles. All right, we okay with that? All right, so try to fix that in your mind. All right, so now we have all right, 5 to liter of blood total pumped by the heart. Yeah, the heart is going to pump out the blood. All right, so how the blood is coming back, that is what we are going to see in a few moments. One thing is that participate very much about the gravity. Gravity. What is gravity? Gravity is the attraction of the earth to everything that is in the surface, right? So what is doing the gravity? Gravity is when you drop an apple, like a Newton, right? So drop an apple, the apple is going to go and drop. right? Fall down because what is the force that making the apple fall to the ground is the gravity, is the gravity. So and this gravity is going to attract the all everything towards the center of the earth, right? And that is what is the blood. The blood is going to go in one direction. The direction is going to go from the heart, listen, from the heart to the rest of the body, down. So that is towards gravity, right? That gravity is going to help with that. But in the opposite, we have the veins that are coming up against gravity. And how is possible the blood can go against gravity up? It's like raining from the ground to the sky, right? So how is that happening, right? And we are going to see that in a few minutes. You okay with that? All right, all right. So
Yes.
the blood is not just red blood cells. The blood is not just red blood cells. The red blood cells actually represent about 45% of the whole total volume of blood. Volume, I said volume, the volume of the blood. What is blood? Blood is not just red blood cells, it's not just white cells and platelets, but they are going to have water. Water, 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 water. They have water, right? So water represents about 55% of the whole blood. 55%. So that's why we need water, right? We need water. Water is going to be, and why do we need water? Why do we need water, by the way? Why we drink water?
Stay
Why we
hydrated.
need water?
Stay hydrated.
Sorry, sorry.
Stay hydrated.
Okay, so that is a consequence. But why, in reality, the bottom line of why do we need water? Okay, interesting, right? Do you want to know? Let's do it. So, what we need water? Water is the medium, is the place where all chemical reactions are going to happen. Chemical reactions, like, for example, the Krebs cycle that we already know to produce ATPs, right? For example, very important, right? So that's why we need water. Water is the medium. Medium. What is the medium? For example, what is your medium right now, Marilyn? Your medium is your room, the air, the space. That is your medium. So let's make it. You are a fish now, Marilyn. You're a fish. Okay, you like to be fish. Okay, let's be fish. So now, what could be your medium? Your medium will be the water, where you actually going to swim, right? Exactly, right? What is the medium? So the medium, that is the medium. And the medium where all chemical reactions are going to occur, all your medium is your space, your air. So in order to do things, you need that medium, right? Otherwise, you will be not doing able to do anything. And water is the medium for all chemical reactions. Okay with that? That's why we need water. Water is so important. So Marcel, tell me one thing. If the patient become dehydrated, as Aaron was saying, if the patient become dehydrated, do you think the chemical reactions are going to occur effectively?
No.
No, right? So that's why dehydration is a very important component in medicine. So you can, first of all, you need to hydrate the patient. If the patient is dehydrated with fever or loss of blood or vomiting, nauseous, you need to restitute the fluid in order to establish the chemical reaction that the body needs. Okay with that? All right. So blood is going to contain water. Water. But in addition to that, besides red blood cells, platelets, and white cells, and water, we are going to have the electrolytes. What is an electrolyte? Means, what is an electrolyte? Oh, it's nothing. It's just a fancy word. I don't know. Electrolyte. Your microphone, please, means, somebody can help us?
It's like salt, potassium.
Okay. So those are examples of electrolytes. But what is an electrolyte? An electrolyte is actually an ion. An ion. Don't forget that this is so important. An ion. And what is an ion? An ion means positive or negative, cations or anions, correct? Right? So what is an electrolyte? So electrolyte, we call electrolyte when these ions are going to be in body fluids. So what are electrolytes? Ions in body fluids. What is an ion? It's an electrical charge element or mineral, correct? Element or mineral is the same. So when they gain loose electrons, you don't want to go back to lecture one, right? So we already know when they lose valency, all that, right? So that is the moment when they lose or gain, they're going to turn into ions. And when these ions are in body fluids, are going to be called electrolytes. Electrolytes. We okay with that? All right. So we have blood, we have water, we have red blood cell, white cell, platelets, water, electrolytes. Guess what? We have proteins. Proteins. We have carbohydrates. We have lipids. We have enzymes. We have hormones. We have everything is there in the blood. So they're going to, just remember, the blood is going to distribute the nutrients that you eat, right? Because after you digest that in your GI tract, in the digestive system, they're going to be absorbed. And where they go? They go to the blood. Who is going to the blood? The monomers, the amino acids, the monosaccharides, and the fatty acids. And that is the highways of the blood. All the vessels are going to distribute, are going to transport, or transport is better to say, all the nutrients to that target organ. Okay, so the blood is not just one element. Blood is a big group of components. Okay? All right, so I'm taking my time on that because this is important in order to have know the relevance of blood. All right, so contain oxygen as well. See, I forget about the oxygen. They contain carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide. Tell me one thing. Why do we need? You already know why we need water, right? So why do we need oxygen? Why do we need oxygen? Why we don't breathe other stuff? Why we need oxygen? Why do we need
For the
oxygen?
circulation of blood.
That is a consequence of that. But why? What is the bottom line? What is making us need oxygen? Why if we don't breathe oxygen in 2-3 minutes, we are dead. So why do we need oxygen? Yes, let's play stress. I feel a little stress, everybody. That's okay. That's okay. You are here to learn. Why we need stress? Stress, oxygen. Because, again, we need oxygen because we need it for chemical reactions. The majority of chemical reactions, they need oxygen. Which chemical reactions? Just think about the Krebs cycle. The Krebs cycle is in the mitochondria. It's aerobic. Remember? Aerobic. That is where it's coming from all the ATPs of our body. So that's why we need oxygen. Is that clear? Okay. So to oxygen to circulate here and there, that is a consequence. That is actually what is happening with the oxygen. But what is a different question. What we need? Why do we need? Right? All right. So is that clear? All right. Perfect. So, and obviously we need to eat. Why we need food? Because that is a source of energy to produce ATPs. Okay? So now you know why we need oxygen, why we need water, and why we need to eat. Right? Okay. So now when you breathe, Eric, when you breathe, you need just oxygen or what is coming to your lungs? Just oxygen? Yes or no?
Yeah.
The answer is that I'm saying because it's a very common thought that when you breathe, you just need oxygen. No, it's not going to be that. So in the air is not oxygen. Listen, the air that you're breathing right now, that is not just oxygen. Oxygen are going to, air is going to be part of that air. The air is going to be oxygen, nitrogen, are going to be carbon dioxide, are going to be helium, some gases, many gases are going to be that in the air. Why is important to know that? I will tell you. In the first explorations on the NASA, they was putting pure oxygen on the astronauts, and you know what? They was dying from toxicity of oxygen. So they was putting at the beginning, and they didn't know that they said oxygen is better, just pure oxygen, and that was actually leading in toxic levels to the patient. And basically, what we breathe is air. 21% of the air is going to be oxygen. So what you breathe in is only 21% of the volume of you inhale. 21% is just oxygen. The rest is other gases. And why we need that? We need it. We need it because for other systems, or we need the carbon dioxide. We need somehow we have other gases like nitrogen, especially in gas, is going to be needed for some activities in the body. You okay with that? All right. So I'm trying just to get you the basic things. All right, so oxygen transport waste products away from the same cell. So that is blood. So blood, you can tell, is going to be very much elaborate. All right, so form elements. What are the form elements of the blood? Form elements are going to be those structures that we have in part of components of the blood. The red blood cells, white cells, and one thing that you must remember are the thrombocytes. 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 Thrombo means clot. So cytes means cells. Cells who produce clots. Thrombus is equal to say clot, right? Thrombo equal to say clot. Cytes are going to be cells. So those are cells who produce actually clots. The other name of these are going to be the platelets, platelets or thrombocytes, okay? All right, so thrombocytes are going to, all right, so for example, when you want to say low levels of platelets, you have thrombocytopenia. If you have high levels of platelets, thrombocytosis. So this is terms that you're going to learn. So thrombus are going to be the same to say platelets. We okay with that? And those are the three main forms elements coming for the exam. Plasma. What is plasma? Plasma, don't get confused. Okay, plasma is part of the blood. Blood is the big umbrella. Blood is actually the whole volume of fluid in your vessels, and part of that is plasma. How we are going to understand that? All right. So now, somebody have draw some blood from your arm, and they put it in the tube, in the how you call tube, laboratory tube, right? And you
Yeah.
see this like everything is red, right? Okay, means let's go homework. Okay, let's do homework. Are you ready? Okay, so you're going to have a bucket with water. You go into your backyard and you have put water from the faucet, okay? Directly from the faucet, from the whatever, right? So, and this water is clear, right? And now I want you to put some soil in that water. Put soil in that water and move it. What color is the water? Miss
The color will be the soil color.
Which one? Which color?
The color will be changed, the soil color.
What color will be? You put soil. Brown, right?
Yeah, if
Brown.
you put the brown color.
Okay. And then you're going to go to your kitchen and you're going to take your tea of coffee, some cup of coffee, some tea, and then come back. Come back to see your water. You will see that the water now is clear on the top, and on the bottom, all the soil is going down. Yes or no?
Yes.
All right. Why is that, Miss O? Why is that? Because the soil, the granules, the elements are going to be heavier than the water. And because of that, by gravity, they go all the way down. Gravity make them go down. You okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. So now is thank you, Miss O. And that is exactly what happened with the blood. The blood, they have water, like the bucket, and the soil will be all the form elements that you have in the blood. So now do you see this spinner they go like very fast, and
Centrifuge.
centrifuge? Yes. Do you know the centrifuge? Do you saw the centrifuge? Why is doing the centrifuge? Because look at this. So if you put the blood in a tube and you wait, you need to wait like 2-3 days in order to make the red blood cells going down. When they put it in the centrifugage, what it's doing is to accelerate the gravity. So the process of the solid, heavier elements to go down are going to be accelerated with acceleration of the gravity of the centrifugage. So in about 15 minutes, you will see that if you put the laboratory tube in that machine spinning very fast, what is happening, the solid elements like red blood cells, white cells are going to go to the bottom. And what is on the top is going to be that bucket of water with the soil that you had in your backyard. So that water on the top are going to be called plasma. Easy or not? Okay, so that is plasma. That is plasma. And that is what we are going to talk in a few moments. So here we have a plasma. Plasma is red blood cell, proteins free of red blood cells, no white cells, no platelets, water, proteins. We have many proteins like fibrogen for clotting, globulins, albumin, electrolytes, carbohydrates, fat, and minerals. So just to make it simple, so when you have plasma, what is plasma? Plasma is all the blood without red blood cells, platelets, and actually white cells. So what is plasma? Is blood minus red blood cells, white cells, and platelets, period. And what is in that plasma? Water, proteins, enzymes, hormones, etc. You okay with that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Serum I'm going to just mention. Serum is when you remove the proteins from the plasma. That is called serum. All right. So in conclusion, blood is red blood cells, white cells, platelets, and the plasma. Excellent. So look at this. This is after they centrifugate the blood. That's the Miss O bucket with the water and the soil. So what happened? This is water. This is basically the plasma. And here we have electrolytes, we have proteins, we have enzymes, we have hormones, right? We have other elements too, oxygen, carbon dioxide. And what is in the bottom are going to be the red blood cells. Don't forget here one thing, erythrocytes. Erythro means red. Cells means, cytes means cell. So red cells, red blood cells. So erythro is the same to say red blood cell. You okay with that? And that is where it's coming, is the heaviest, are heavier than any other element in the blood. So here we have the red blood cells. Less heavier are going to be the platelets and the leukocytes or white cells. Leuco means white, cyte means cells, white cells. So that's why it's called white cell. And the white cells is here. And the rest that is less heavier are going to be on the top. So this is about 1% This is about 45%, and this is about 55%, about. Okay? All right, so we okay with that? So just remember the red blood cells go to the bottom, 45%, 45%, 45%. The white cells are going to be about 0.8, 0.9, 1%. And the plasma are going to be about 55%. You're right? So you already know what is plasma, what is the form element. Form element, what are the four elements? One more time. Four elements are three: red, white, and platelets. Okay?
Yes.
All right. So four components of blood. So we have blood, plasma, red blood cells, erythrocytes, platelets are going to be the thrombocytes, white cells are going to be the leukocytes that are, we are going to mention that, and the lymphocytes. Please, one common mistake for many students is they don't consider what are the lymphocytes. The lymphocytes are going to be white cells. So lymphocytes as well are, so we have neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils, monocytes, and we have the lymphocytes, B and T, etc. So that is what is white cells. We right? Okay. So that is the summary of what we was talking here. All right, so let's talk about the platelets. The platelets, please, that is question for the exam, okay? So you need to remember when you go to Kentucky Fried Chicken, you like to eat the tips of the how you call it? drumstick of the chicken legs, correct? In those tips is where it is going to produce the red blood cells, platelets, and the white cells. So those are what we call the red bone marrow. Remember we was talking about the red bone marrow, right? Everybody got it? The red bone marrow is on the distal portion of the bones. And in this red bone marrow is going to produce the red blood cells, the white cells, and the platelets. Okay, so one thing I want to tell you. Listen to this. This is question for exam. Red blood cells are cells. They are cells. The white cells are cells as well. But the platelets are not cells. That is what I want you to know. So what is a platelet? All right, so I will tell you very quick. The platelets are coming from a cell called megakaryocyte. This megakaryocyte is like this. So if this is the red blood cell, this is the white cell, this is the megakaryocyte. This is a cell called megakaryocyte. So what happened with this megakaryocyte that produce platelets? They are going to take a knife, it's like a cheese, and you're going to cut in pieces, like this. Each piece is a platelet. So what is a platelet? A platelet is a piece of a megakaryocyte. So the platelets are not really cells, are pieces of a cell, in other words. Okay? Open eyes, open ear, because it's coming for the exam. Okay?
Got it.
All right, so now let's talk about the erythrocytes, red blood cells. Actually, the erythrocytes are going to tell you the story of the erythrocytes very, very fast. So I'm going to just tell you. All right, so write down, try to visualize. So the red blood cells are going to have a span life of 4 months. So 120 days. Okay? All right, so I better draw it. The red blood cells, they're going to live lifespan of 120 days. Question for the exam. Red blood cells coming 120 days. So here we have, this is our bone, kind of weird bone. And here we have the red bone marrow. Red bone marrow. Red bone marrow. Again, red bone marrow. That is where it's coming, the red blood cells, the white cells, red blood cells, white cells, and the platelet. That is where it's coming from the distal portion of the long bones. Not every bone, but most of the bone. So this is the red bone marrow. So the red bone marrow are going to produce the red blood cells, and they are going to release into the bloodstream. Oh, look at this, kind of weird. So these red blood cells is by concave shape. Question for the exam. So the red blood cell is not like this, right? So it's going to have here like an indentation, like going down. Why is that? Why is that? The red blood cells, once they're coming out from the red bone marrow to the blood, to the circulation, I'm going to say the circulation, the red blood cells are going to lose the nucleus. They're going to lose the nucleus, lost the nucleus. So they're going to the cells at the beginning, like with the nucleus inside. When they lose the nucleus, they are going to lose the nucleus. They are going to have this shape because of the actually absence of the nucleus. We okay with that?
Yes. Got it.
All right, so why is biconcave? The red blood cell is biconcave because there is studies that made that if you, for example, put some structure that is rounded in water, that is going to get wet in certain time. But if you have a shape like this, that actually is going to get basically surrounded by fluid faster in the biconcave shape, especially of oxygen. Okay, so just a small explanation about that. All right, so that is that they're going to lose the nucleus. So that means that the red blood cells actually, what they're going to not able to reproduce anymore. They're not able to reproduce because they lost the DNA and the nucleus. So they cannot multiply once they are in the circulatory system. Now, what happened then? We have here an organ that is called the spleen. The spleen. The spleen that is in the left hypochondrium, as you can tell, right? The spleen is going to be the cemetery, I will call the cemetery of the red blood cells. That is basically where they're going to die, the red blood cell. So how the red blood cell say, how old are you, red blood cell? Can you tell me? 120 days. Okay, sorry, I need to kill you. Goodbye. So that is what is doing the spleen. The spleen is going to collect all these red blood cells that are going to be 120 days, and they are going to destroy the old red blood cells. So this is a red blood cell, and they're going to destroy the red blood cell. But what happened? The red blood cells are going to release the hemoglobin. Hemoglobin. What is the hemoglobin? Hemoglobin is going to be a protein. Globin is a protein with gluteum M that is going to carry oxygen. They're going to carry oxygen. Okay, so hemoglobin is a protein. Write down that. Hemoglobin is a protein. Protein. Hemoglobin is a protein. Carry oxygen and carbon dioxide. So what is happening is that the spleen is going to destroy these red blood cells when they have old enough 120 days. Is that clear or not?
It's clear.
Okay, so now, how many molecules of hemoglobin do you think you have in each red blood cell? How many? 1, 2, 3. Yes, the red blood cells are going to contain about 24,000 molecules of hemoglobin. 24,000 molecules of hemoglobin. So there's a lot of hemoglobin going to be released for every single red blood cell who are being destroyed. You okay with that? Now, one more thing. How many red blood cells do you think you produce in the time? I said that before, right? But tell me, how fast, how many red blood cells you produce? How fast? You produce, listen to this, 2 million red blood cells. 2 million, 2 million. It's like San Francisco and Oakland together, people. 2 million people, 2 million, 2 million red blood cells every single second. Every second. So count 1 second, 2 seconds, I have 2 million more cells. 1 second, second, I have 2 more million. And every second, 24/7. It's amazing how much the cells are going to be produced by the red bone marrow. You okay with that? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So now the next part we are going to continue another time because you need to know the bilirubin, the liver, and this is too much for you at this moment. So let's keep moving. So the erythrocytes are biconcave disc. They're going to be 7 to 10 microns. 7 to 10 microns. So just to give you an idea, what is 7 to 10 microns? Listen, what is the biggest or largest cell in your body? You have one cell that is the largest cell that you can see with your bare eye. Very difficult to see it, but you can still see it with your bare eye. Who is that? Is actually the ovum. Where is the ovum? In your ovaries. So the ovum is going to measure, just to give you an idea, is going to be 0.1 millimeters. And the red blood cell are going to be 7 microns. So what is the difference? If I change the 0.1 millimeters into microns and divide it, I will say the ovum is 14 times bigger than the red blood cell. So in other words, the red blood cell is going to be 14 times smaller. Okay? Imagine yourself, you are the size of a red blood cell. You are the size of a red blood cell. Go to a building and they have 14-story building. So that is basically it's going to be like 10 because it's 3 meters. But anyhow, it's about the difference between you and a building of 10-story building. So that is the difference between an ovum and how small is going to be the red blood cell. You okay with that? All right. So 7 to 10 microns that contain hemoglobin. How many molecules of hemoglobin? Don't say 1 or 2. They have 24,000 molecules of hemoglobin, and each molecule carry oxygen and carbon dioxide, and transport oxygen from the lungs to the body and collect carbon dioxide to eliminate by the lungs. Okay? Where is coming from the carbon dioxide? Somebody can tell me, please. Where is coming from the carbon dioxide?
So oxygen.
For what?
Or from the air.
What air? No. Okay, all right. Calm me down. Carbon dioxide is coming from the waste product of the Krebs cycle, or no?
Yes, it is.
Right? So you use the oxygen for all chemical reactions to occur, but when they occur, they eliminate some gases, like is carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide go to the blood, and that is where it's coming and get out through the lungs. So the lungs is not the one who produce carbon dioxide. The lungs is the organ who are going to make the carbon dioxide from the whole body eliminated outside from your body. You okay with that?
Yes.
All right. So don't tell me the lungs are the one who produce carbon dioxide. No. Carbon dioxide is produced by the metabolism. Why do we need oxygen? For the metabolism. Why we need water? For metabolism. Why we need food? Metabolism to produce ATPs. Everything is metabolism at the level of the cell. That is where is actually the carbon dioxide coming from. Is that clear or no?
Yes.
Okay. And these red blood cells are stimulated by an hormone. These hormones are going to be the erythropoietin, the erythropoietin, erythropoietin. Don't forget that, erythropoietin. I was telling you in the past when we was talking about kidney that we have the kidney functions are going to be fresh. Remember that? Remember or not?
Yeah.
Right? What is F? F is the filtration. R means the reabsorption. E is the excretion. S the secretion. H hormones. What hormones? R renin that we don't know yet, but I just mentioned. E erythropoietin, the erythropoietin, the erythropoietin. And D is the activation of the vitamin D. So if you don't know this, we are going to have problems in anatomy for kidney. All right. So I told you to remember these three first. I don't remember that now. But here, this is what is coming in anatomy physiology, and I mentioned that because they want you to know that the kidney is the one who produces erythropoietin. I didn't say that the kidney produce red blood cells. I didn't say that. What I said is the kidney produce the erythropoietin that is an hormone, and this hormone go to the red bone marrow, and the erythropoietin tell the bone marrow, you know what, I want more red blood cells. And that is what is doing the erythropoietin. It's going to increase or stimulate the production of red blood cells from the red bone marrow. Is that clear?
Yes.
All right. So now, what time is it? Oh my God. All right, so let's have 10 minutes break. I'm going to give you until 11:40. No, 11:30. 32. Okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Guys, tell me one thing. The speed is okay, or you want me to go slower or faster? Or I'm talking too much, blah, blah, blah.
The speed is okay.
Speed is okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I will see you 10:32. Say. Hello. Okay, so let's keep going. All right, so let's talk about the leukocytes and the white cells. So the size of the white cells are a little bit bigger than the red blood cells. All right, so leukocytes are going to be mostly their work are in the tissues. So why is that? So it's like you have the you have the army, and we're supposed to be all the soldiers, all the elements from the army are going to be on the bases. Okay, so don't think that all the white cells are running into the bloodstream. They are not. So they are going to be basically on the bases in the tissues. They are going to be on the tissues, or in, well, between the cells in the tissues, all right? So only when there is an alarm, when there is an emergency or some alarm, the white cells are going to come out from the tissues and they go to the bloodstream. You okay with that? It's like the bases. All the soldiers are in the bases. There's an emergency. The soldiers are going to come out to actually protect against the enemy. Correct? In this case, the bacteria. You okay with that? All right. So the white cells are going to, in order to uh, uh, come out from the tissues, they are going to walk. They are not walking basically because they have feet, right, or legs. So they are going to just crawl like some amoebas, right? So that is how they are going to pass from the tissues into the bloodstream. And these are called diapedesis. Diapedesis. What is diapedesis? Diapedesis is the way that the white cells are moving towards the different tissues or to the bloodstream. Okay. All right. So we have different type of white cells. The white cells, basically, I want to tell you the white cells are going to live. The ones who live longer is we have different types. We have the lymphocyte, we have the neutrophils, eosinophils, and the basophils. I put macrophage here, but the word is the monocyte. 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 Monocyte are going to be related to the macrophages. The monocyte are going to be this. This is a monocyte. Monocyte, and when some bacteria is coming into your body, these monocytes are going to transform into a bigger cell, and that is called the macrophage. 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 We have the monocytes. Monocytes are going to transform into macrophage. That is vital for the immune system. So we are going to talk that in another time. But the monocytes, when they are going to be activated, they are going to be transformed into macrophages. So the monocytes, what they are doing is to eat bacteria, eat bacteria, and when they transform into macrophages, they are going to increase 100 times the ability to eat more bacteria. So that's why they are going to be transformed. How to remember that? M monocyte, M are going to be macrophage. So it's the only one who have MM. M monocyte then turns into macrophage. So monocyte is a short word, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. A macrophage has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 letters. So that means it's bigger. So just to remember, okay? Monocytes turn into macrophages. You okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Basically, we have the neutrophils, the eosinophils, and the basophils, and actually the monocytes. They have a span life of about 1 day. The only one who, 1 day. The only one who live about 7 days is going to be the eosinophil, 7 days. So just to give an idea, right? So they don't live forever. That is what I want to show you here. right? So these micro monocytes, neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils, basically they have a span life of 1 week. 1 week. They are going to be renewed. How many white cells we produce in the body? We produce 1 million white cells per second. The red blood cells are being produced 2 million per second. 2 million per second. Okay? All right. So that is basically what we are going to have actually as white cells. So diaperesis, just remember that. And please don't forget that lymphocytes are going to leave, it's going to be part of the leukocyte or white cells. Okay, don't forget the lymphocytes. Lymphocytes are part of the white cells. So we have monocyte 1, neutrophils 2, eosinophils 3, basophils 4, lymphocytes 5. The fingers of your hand are going to be the number of the type of cells that compose the leukocytes or white cells. We okay with that?
Yes.
The lymphocytes, there's different types, but in general, the lymphocytes, some of them are going to live for a few weeks, 6 weeks, but some other lymphocytes, they can live for years, up to 10 years. So lymphocytes is a special forces that we are going to see that live. All right, so at this moment, I want you to remember that components of the white cells are going to be 5, the fingers of your hand, right? So monocytes, neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils, and the lymphocytes. Each of them, they have an important function. Like we have the army, we have lieutenants, we have commanders, captains, so they have different activities that we are going to see later on. All right, so functions of the blood. Functions of the blood that is coming for the exam are going to be transport substance around the body. All right, so is the blood is going to run through the highways. What are those highways? Are going to be arteries and veins, the vessels. The vessels are actually is in the blood where it's going to be passing all the nutrients, like for example, carbohydrates, fats, lipids, and micronutrients, who are the vitamins and minerals. All right. So another function is the immune system. When you have an invasion, the alarm is going to sound, to be activated, and the white cells are start to go through diaperesis from the tissues to the bloodstream to the area of the fight. We have the pH of the blood. So that is going to stabilize the blood pH. All right, so listen to this very careful, please. You must know that the blood normal pH is 735 to 745. That is huge, okay? So you must nail it in your information, in your mind. So what is the pH of the blood? 735 to 745. So you remember that the range of pH is between 0 to 14 in general, right? 7 is actually the neutral. So the pH, so when it's close to 0 is acid. When it's close to 14 is alkaline. So the blood is in this area, okay? In this area. So 735 to 745. So what is pH? pH means the power of hydrogens. Power of hydrogens. Power of hydrogens. And hydrogen is going to be like this. But when they lose, you remember hydrogen is 1 proton and 1 electron. When they lose the electron, are going to be H positive because it's only 1 proton. So this is are going to donate electrons. When they donate electrons, are actually become acid. So the donation of electrons are going to be coming, whatever substance it is going to become acid. And the most common is the hydrogen. So that's why it's called power of hydrogens, the pH. So the pH is the amount of hydrogens that you have in your blood. All right, so there's certain amount of hydrogens, H positive, and that is going to be between 735 to 745. Okay, so now, but in order to make it clear, probably it's not clear right now, we have that this is going to work as a stabilizer. Stabilize is actually the red blood cells are going to work as a buffer, as a buffer, as a buffer, as a buffer, as a buffer. What is a buffer? A buffer, for example, is like a shock absorber of your car. So you have a car of 1970. So the buffers and the shock absorbers are going to be very poor. So when you go to the road and you will see like boom, 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 bumping, 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 bumping. But now you buy a Mercedes-Benz 223, Mercedes is going to be smooth. You don't feel that variations of the road. So these actually variations is related to the pH, the pH. So these red blood cells are not going to allow the pH to go too high or too low. So what happens when the pH is too high or too low? When they happen, is too acid or too alkaline. So what happens with the red blood cells? Or the cells in general, not only the red blood cells, all the cells in the body are going to start blowing up. Boom, 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 boom. So that's why we need to keep the blood pH in that range, 735 and to 745. And how this is not clear yet, let's make it more clear. So who is the buffer? Buffer is a substance is an element who is going to try to keep the pH of the blood between that range, 735 to 745. How is that happening? So here we have a red blood cell, and you already know that we have molecules of hemoglobin here, 24,000 molecules of hemoglobin. The normal pH is, let's put it this way, is like this amount of hydrogen. I'm not saying two, it's just an example. But what happens is you have an excess of hydrogens. Your blood is become acid. And how is going to stabilize the blood pH, the red blood cells? What it's going to do is the excess of hydrogens are going to get trapped by the molecules of hemoglobin. And they're going to sweep out the excess of hydrogens outside and keep the pH in 735 to 745. So what is, in few words, when we're talking about the stabilized pH of the blood pH, is that the blood are going to keep the range of 735, 745. How? Through the buffers. What is a buffer? The molecule called hemoglobin. What is hemoglobin? Hemoglobin is a protein. Hemoglobin is a protein. This protein is located inside 24K in the red blood cells. Is that clear or no, please?
It's clear.
It's clear? Okay, perfect. So this buffer, there's other buffers that is going to help to keep the pH of the blood in 735 to 745. And these elements work as a buffer as well, are located into the blood. So who are those? For example, the bicarbonate. Bicarbonate. This is something that you don't have escape. You need to know bicarbonate. Bicarbonate is the opposite of the hydrogen, positive. Bicarbonate is alkaline. So bicarbonate, you need to know the name, bicarbonate, and you need to know the formula, HCO3 negative. So that is basically what is doing this is to gain electrons. So hydrogens, what is making acid is the donation of electrons. The bicarbonate, what is doing is to receive the electrons, and that make the blood less acid. So, I mean, more alkaline. So you need to remember bicarbonate and the formula and the name. Another one we have here, the myoglobin. The myoglobin. Myo means muscle. Globin means protein. It's a protein that is located in the muscle. So it's exactly the same function. They are going to, it's a buffer who are going to try to keep control of the range, normal range of the pH 735 to 745. All right, so substance that can partially neutralize an acid or a base. These prevent changes on the pH. So it's like the Mercedes-Benz and the old car from the 70s, right? So that is basically what is doing the one of the functions of the blood. We okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, so they're going to stabilize body temperature. When you have body temperature, the blood, what happens is this. I'm going to rule out. Okay. All right. So tell me, do you like to bake? Oh, you like to chicken bake or something?
Yes.
Yes. So tell me, what is the best way to bake a chicken? Conventional oven or convection?
Conventional
Conventional or convection? What do you use?
convention oven, right?
So the normal oven or convection? If you see there in the menu of your oven, they say convection. Do you notice that, Marilyn? You don't like to cook, Marilyn. Marilyn, you
Yeah.
hear me? You use convection or normal regular oven?
Just a normal oven.
Convection is better.
To bake?
So tell me, convection, when you press convection, you hear a sound on the oven or you know? Convection. You hear a sound on the oven? Like, like this? Marcel, do you hear that?
Isn't that when it circulates the air?
Exactly. So when you put convection, the air, there's a fan there that is going to circulate the air around the chicken. And that is going to make the chicken cook evenly. You okay with that? So the temperature is not going to be just cooking the legs, but it's going to cook the chicken evenly because the fan is going to make circulate the heat evenly to the whole area. You okay with that? Okay, so the fan and the air circulating is exactly what happened with the blood. So the blood, what it's doing is to make even the temperature in all your body because it's circulating, like the convection oven in the kitchen. Is that clear or not?
Yes.
It's clear.
Okay, so that is not going to allow that if you overheat, is going to be just your brain overheat. They're going to take that overheat and distribute it evenly, and what happened? The temperature is going to be lower at the end. Is that clear or no? We okay with that? So that is what happened with the body. The blood is going to regulate the temperature. Why? Because the blood is circulating. So tell me, when you're overheat, your blood doesn't run fast. Your heartbeat is not faster, yes or no? When you're overheat, do you notice that?
Yeah,
Hello?
the heart rate will be faster.
Yeah, why? Because the body is trying to redistribute the heat and not make the heat be concentrated only in one part of your body. Is that clear or no?
It's clean.
Okay, and there's other mechanisms that are going to companion this. Is the vasodilation. You know what is vasodilation, right? Right? Tell me, please, because we need time. Vasodilation. You know what is vasodilation, Marilyn?
No, I
Marilyn.
don't.
Huh?
I don't.
Okay, so tell me. But all right, so this is something that we explained before, and I need you to know that, please. Vasodilation. You know what is vessel, right? This is the normal vessel. The vasodilation is going to make the vessel bigger, dilate, vasodilation, VSD, that happen during the inflammatory process, vasodilation. And vasoconstriction is when this is the normal vessel become very tiny, small, vasoconstriction. are going to narrow the lumen of the vessel, right? So, everybody know what is lumen, right?
Yes, it's like the inside.
Exactly. Yes. So what happened with this mechanism? Besides, the body is going to increase the speed of circulation of the blood. They're going to do vasodilation. This vasodilation make the vessels on the skin to be bigger, and that dilation make it closer to the skin, and that's why your cheek become red, because literally you can see blood flowing under your skin. Because when you have vasodilation is going to increase the vessel, making it closer to the skin, so you can see all the flow. That's why your cheeks are red. And why is doing that? Because when you are overheat, you are sweating on the surface of the skin, and when the blood is closer to the skin, the temperature is going to be taken by the evaporation of the sweat, and that is another mechanism that is going to control your temperature. You okay with that? Just rewind and listen to this explanation again. This is very important. It's going to save you a lot of time in the future, I'm telling you. All right. So what is the center control of your house temperature? When you have cold, what you're doing? You're going to the thermostat, right? Thermostat. So this thermostat is part of the central nervous system. That is the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is the thermostat of your house. The thermostat of your body is the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is the central nervous system who is going to make orders to increase your heart rate, or to produce vasodilation, or to produce vasoconstriction. Vasoconstriction happens when it's too cold in the environment. Making too cold in the environment, the blood vessels are going to become more tiny, vasoconstricted, and getting away from the skin, keeping the blood closer to the center of your body to keep the temperature. It's the opposite situation that we have with that vasodilation. You okay with that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure. All right, so let's talk about the classes of hemorrhage. We have here hemorrhage is, tell me one thing. I will tell you one thing here. Okay, so here we have a patient. This is a patient. Let's say a patient like this, or whatever. Okay, patient, right? That is normal hydration. Normal hydration means actually the blood, you have the amount of fluid, water in your body normally. What happens if you have a patient, the same patient, are going to have swollen upper, lower extremities, and big abdomen with fluid, a lot of water. They're called edemas. Edemas. Tell me, this patient is hydrated or dehydrated or overhydrated? What do you think?
Overhydrated.
All right, so this patient, what they're doing is basically suffer from dehydration. Dehydration, very clear. So please, dehydration. So what is the definition of dehydration? The definition of dehydration is the low levels of water in the vessels. Inside the vessels. So the blood, the water that is in the vessels, when they escape into the tissues, that is going to sacrifice the volume of water from the blood. And the dehydration is basically a patient who do not have the enough volume of water in the vessels, in the lumen of the vessels. So these patients with edema are completely dehydrated, very much dehydrated, because the water is not where it's supposed to be. is in the vessels, in the lumen of the vessels. We okay with that?
Yes.
So now another loss of volume of blood will be, for example, bleeding. If you have bleeding here, look at this. This is, by the way, I want to tell you the pH. I forgot. When the pH is this is 735, when they go 6.9 under, it's very acid, and when the maximum normal pH is 745, and when they reach 7.9, this patient is going to die. So 6.9 or less, the patient is going to die. 7.9 or more, the patient is going to die. So that is a very narrow range of pH. So how they are going to die, the patient? The patient is going to blow up cells, boom, 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 which are first the central nervous system, your brain, all the nerves of your brain are going to just be destroyed. So be careful. That is important to know about the pH. So pH less than 735 means 734, 733, etc., and down. That is called acidosis. 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 More than 745 means 746, 747 or more are going to be alkalosis. We okay with that?
Yes.
All right. So now we have here class 1 hemorrhage. This class hemorrhage is going to make the patient dehydrated, right? Because they are losing, the blood is coming a lot of fluid or water. How much fluid, how much water you have on you right now? So how much is your weight? Don't tell me your weight. So if you have your weight 100 pounds, 60% of that weight is water. Can you imagine? Write down that. In adult, 60% of the volume of the weight of your body is water. Just water. Okay? When you are a kid, children, newborns especially, they go up to 80%. 80% is the weight of the newborn or the or kid, infant, toddler, whatever. 80% are going to be the weight of that patient is 80% will be water. In adult, 60%. In elderly, it's going to go down it's going to be about 55%. 55%. Okay? You wrote down that, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So now, the class of hemorrhage. Hemorrhage means the loss of blood. It could be a bleeding, but not necessarily the blood is going to be seen because you have a cut on the skin or some injury. The blood is coming out. Yeah, that is hemorrhage. But there is bleeding that you cannot see sometimes. So this bleeding is going to go inside your body, in your abdominal cavity, in your lungs, in any place of the pelvis, any place. So that's not necessary. You need to see the blood to tell it's hemorrhage. Okay? It could be internal bleeding or external bleeding. Hemorrhage type 1, question for the exam, class 2, class 3, and class 4. So you need to remember the word, the percent 15. 15%. So class 1 hemorrhage, you are losing 50% of the volume. So that means 15% of about these 4 to 5 liters. 15%. Class 2 is going to 30%. 30%. Class 3 is going to be more than 30%. More than 30%. And class 4, more than 40%. All right, so how to remember that? 15% is a number that you must remember. 15%. So more than class 1, 15%. Class 2, multiply by 2, up to 30%. Up to 30%. Class 1, 15%. Class 2, 30%. So class 3, more than 30%. It's a way to remember, right? More than 30%. And class 4, 40. 4, 40. 40% of bleeding. So close your eyes and try to remember. Class 1 is what? How much percentage?
15.
15. Class 2, multiply by 2?
30%.
30%. Class 3, more than?
40.
40.
More than 30. What's 40? More than 30. And class 4?
Less than 40.
40%. Excellent. Now, how you can translate that? So look at this. Class 1 is basically like losing approximately 1 bottle of wine. Yes. Class 2, another simple, 2 bottles of wine. So that means about 1,500 and a little bit more. Class 3, how many?
3 bottles of wine.
3 bottles of wine. All right. And class 4 is going to be actually basically 4 bottles of wine or more. Okay, we got it?
Got it.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about plasma. Let me see what happened here. All right, so I need to talk about that. What else? Okay. Okay, so plasma. The plasma, you already know, is going to represent 55% of the blood, of the volume of blood. Please don't forget that the red blood cells are going to be 45%. Okay, 45%. White cells and platelets are going to be about 1%. So those are the numbers you must remember. We need to know that for the exam. Okay, now let's talk about the plasma. The plasma that is represent 55% of the volume of the blood, the plasma itself is going to contain basically proteins and water. Proteins and water. Proteins and water. So water and proteins, okay? So proteins, I want you to remember these names. These are the basic names of proteins that we are going to find in our system. The fibrogen, that is called the fibrin, globulins, and albumin. Globulins and albumin. Don't forget that. Albumin, globulins, fibrin, albumin, and there is many others, but this is for a moment. Fibrin, globulins, and albumin. When I ask you what is albumin, immediately you're going to tell me it's a protein. What is a globulin? Immediately you will tell me it's a protein. What is a fibrin? Immediately you're going to tell me that it's a protein. You okay with that? Now, 55% of the whole volume of the blood is going to be plasma. That is going to be a clear fluid with yellowish, a little bit yellowish. Why? Because they contain some lipids. Just remember that we have the plasma is everything that you can imagine in the blood except red blood cells, white cells, and platelets. You okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So there you are. Plasma, how much percentage is the plasma, please? Is all this is 100%? How much is the plasma?
55%.
55%. What is the white cells?
About 1%.
1%. And red blood cells?
45%.
45%. Okay, are you ready? This 45% of the red blood cells is the amount, is the percentage of red blood cells that are in the blood. Okay, so from all this blood, 45% are going to be just red blood cells. And how we call that? That is called the hematocrit. You heard about that?
Yes.
Hematocrit. So that is the hematocrit. That is the hematocrit. Don't get confused with the hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is another stuff. All right. So we are going to talk that later. So hematocrit is the percentage, hematocrit, percentage, 45%. Okay?
Yes.
All right. So for example, here we have the hematocrit is going to be 45%. 40.4% is the hematocrit in this case. That is normal. Okay? All right. So let's talk about the albumins. Oh my God, this is a lot. Albumin. Albumin is going to be a protein that is located in the plasma. And listen to this, please. Albumin is the universal taxi driver. Albumin is the universal taxi driver. What does it mean? If you eat sugars, they go to the stomach, absorbed by the intestine, and the sugars are going to be transported by albumin. Albumin. Everything is transported by albumin. Fats as well. Proteins, other proteins as well too. They are going to be transported. When you take a medication, a drug, for example, you have pain or you have some infection, and the medication that you take by mouth, they're going to be absorbed by the intestine, and they're going to ask taxi driver. And this taxi driver is the albumin. What is doing this albumin is going to transport. It's a transporter, many other functions, but one is the transportation of this medication. And where they're going to transport? All over your body. Okay? All right, so I'm going to apply this. Look at this. Tell me, a patient who is malnourished. This malnourishment means that they have low levels of proteins in blood. You okay with that? Yes or no? Right? All right.
Yes.
So tell me one thing. You have a patient A and patient B. They have the same disease. Same A and B. They have the same disease. A and B, same disease. And they are taking the medication. This actually patient A is very well nourished. And this patient is very poor nourished. So who is going to heal first, A or B?
A.
A. Perfect. Why? Because they have enough transporters that are going to make distribution of the drug all over the body appropriately. But the other one who is malnourished is not going to have albumin enough to transport to the whole body. So the distribution is going to be very poor. And that guy, B, is going to take longer to heal. So as a conclusion, you can tell who is going to heal faster. A person who is very well nourished or a person who is very bad nourished. The person who is very good nourished are going to heal faster. That is the reason, the albumin. You okay with that? All right. Another important thing I want you to remember is that the albumin, and write down this, are going to, one of the functions is to attract water. Attract water. So albumin, that is the protein that we have in the most abundant, the most abundant protein in our blood is the albumin. Don't forget that. Albumin is the one from all proteins, is the one who we have in biggest number than any other part of the body. So you have about 250 grams. It's like you have 2 bagels and a half of just albumin in your body. That is how much albumin we have. And this albumin mostly are located into the bloodstream, into the vessels. Albumin. This albumin are going to have a property to attract water. They're going to attract water. So they're going to hold molecules of water. They're going to hold the molecules of water. Inside the vessel. So that is called the oncotic pressure. In other words, colloidal, but it's not that common to call that. It's oncotic pressure. The oncotic pressure. Okay? What is oncotic pressure? The oncotic pressure is the force that actually make the protein hold the water inside the vessel. You okay with that? Never forget that. Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So tell me one thing. Homework, okay? Homework. I want you to Google in your time. You will see how is a patient who is very bad nourished, very malnourished, especially kids. You will see if they are very bad nourished, they have low levels of proteins. So that means that these do not have enough proteins to hold the water inside the lumen of the vessel. And what happened? If you don't have enough proteins to hold the proteins inside the vessel, the water starts to escape. And you will see patients with malnourished are totally swollen. They have edemas all over because there is not that amount of proteins that are going to allow to hold the water inside the vessel. And where is going to go this water? They go out into the tissue, and that causes edemas. You see swollen face, swollen legs, swollen abdomen. You okay with that? Okay, so that's excellent. All right, so here we have edemas. These edemas are going to be what we call a pitting edema. This edema, it can be caused by excess of fluid in the vessels. There's so much pressure in the vessel, in the veins, that water starts to escape to the tissues. And why in the lower extremities? Why? Because the water by gravity go to the distal portion of your body, towards your feet. Okay? Another one is the low levels of proteins. They can produce edemas as well. So there is a lot more to talk about that. You will see that in MedSearch, but this is the Christmas tree. So please pay attention to this. Okay? Now, how you assess edemas? That is edemas. When you assess edemas, you're going to push. I use the thumb. I will use this is the thumb. Yeah, this is the thumb, I guess, right? The thumb. Yeah, this is the thumb. The thumb, I use the thumb. And you press against bone. Where is this bone? That is the tibial bone. Tibial bone. Or here in the malleus, here, or here in the on the top of the foot. So you press here for 5 seconds. Pressure hard, not to make patient pain, but hard enough. And then you are going to release the finger and you pass your hand here. And you will see that this is an indentation that you feel with your hand. That is called edemas. We okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So that is edema. All right. So here we have the edemas is called phobia. 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 So when you are going to assess the patient with phobia, you're going to, no phobia that you're scared. Phobia is the other one that you're scared of something. This is not the phobia I'm talking. Okay. Phobia is going to be the indentation. So you're going to call phobia +1 or +2 or +3 or +4. So the more deeper are going to be, the more number you have. So you have phobia, for example, +1 is about 2 millimeters indentation. Then 4, then 6, and then 8. So 2 + 2, 4. 4 + 2, 6. 6 + 2, 8. So edema. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. 2, 4, 6, 9. You're not going to measure with the ruler, right? So, but it's basically approximately. So you can tell. If very deep is phobia +4. Is superficial, phobia +1. Intermediate, phobia +2 or phobia +3. So basically, that is actually how we assess the edemas. You okay with that?
Yes.
And are you
Yeah.
happy to find edemas in the lower extremities? No, 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 no. So you need to investigate and up to where is going to be the edemas. So you check first the feet on the bone, on the dorsum, here on the feet. Then you check the malleus. Then you check the tibia. Then you check, you can check here on the hip. You can check behind the sacrum. You need to investigate up to where is going to be the edema. Okay? All right, so here we have some examples here. We have edema. This is phobia plus what?
4 plus 4.
4, right? Already 4. This is a swollen leg here, lower extremities. That is most likely DVT. When is one leg, look at this. When you have, I will tell you ahead, I will tell you ahead of time. So when you have one leg, only edema, and only one leg, that is mostly DVT. That means deep vein thrombosis. You have clots in the lower extremity. When it's both legs are going to be edema, having edema, that is problems with the heart. Okay? So 2 heart, 1 DVT. You okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, sodium. Sodium, this is the normal value that you must remember. 135 to 145. 135 to 145. 135 to, this is a question for the exam. How to remember? Sodium. So what is the pH, Marcel, what is the abnormal pH?
For blood,
7.
a 7.35.
You okay with that?
Yes.
And sodium is not
140.
that, is that not easy? Is easy or not?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? Instead of 7, you put 1, right? 135 to 145. Is that clear? You okay with that? Okay. So sodium, as you remember, is the most important extracellular cation. Remember that or no? Please.
Yes.
Here we have intracellular, and that is going to be the potassium and the phosphate. And the extracellular, we have the sodium and the chloride. So what is, this is cation, anion, and anion. The most important cation, extra sodium. The most important anion, extra the chloride. The most important cation, intra, are going to be potassium. And the intra anion is going to be the phosphate. We okay with that? One of the characteristics, and this is like your first name and your last name. Sodium attract water as well. Are going to attract water. Sodium 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 attract water. Proteins attract water. Proteins attract water. Sodium attract water. Proteins attract water. Is that clear or no?
That's cool.
So wherever sodium goes, they are going to make you, wherever sodium goes, water is going to follow the sodium. You okay with that? All right, so that is, always remember that. When I was telling you what attract water, proteins and sodium. Okay? This is huge. If you want to know pathophysiology, if you don't know that, you're going to be walking in the swamp. That's a good example, by the way. Walking in the swamp. You don't want to swamp, right? You don't want to, okay. All right, so let's keep going. All right, so let me finish this and then the heart. Okay. All right, hopefully we are going to finish. All right, so I have 7 more minutes before the break, okay? Okay, the platelets. The platelets are, these guys are going to live about 7 days. Just to know, I'm not going to ask 7 days. But the other name is the thrombocytes. Thromboclot site cells, right? So, but you really know, you know already that the platelets, thrombocytes are not really cells. What are those? Are part of a cell, from the megakaryocyte. All right, so just remember the red bone marrow is the one who produce the red blood cells, the white cells, and the let me find in order not to forget here what I want to tell you. Okay, so platelets. So we that is going to stimulate by an hormone called the thrombopoietin. The thrombopoietin. The thrombopoietin is going to stimulate, is going to be produced by the liver, by the liver, by the liver. All right, so platelets are not cells. How many platelets we produce? We produce same number of the white cells. The white cells are being produced 1 million per second. Platelets are going to be produced 1 million per second. So I don't want you to remember 1 million per second. I want you to know that how fast is going to be the cell division or the production of these structures. It's going to be useful for the future. So please remember that, okay? Now, the platelets are going to be part of the coagulation process, as we are going to talk about that. And that is called the process of to form a clot. The process to form a clot is called the hemostasia. 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 So please don't get confused. I didn't say homeostasis. Homeostasis is different thing. Is the how the body keeps the internal balance between the central nervous system and endocrine. That is homeostasis. This is different. This is homeostasia. Hemostasia. You okay with that? Don't get confused those terms. Okay?
Got it.
All right. So talking about the plate, I need to make you a small story. All right. So for this, I wish you could be in class. But anyhow. All right. So let's suppose. All right. So everybody, think about it. You are in your room. Who is your room? Your room are going to be the vessel. So you are inside. You are the blood, all the blood. So imagine that you have people inside your room. People inside your room. Team A are going to be the red blood cells. The team B are going to be the platelets. And the team C is going to be the fibrin. Fibrin is part of the coagulation process. All right, so how many teams we have? 3 teams. First team, red blood cells. Second team, B, are going to be the platelets. And the third team are going to be the fibrin. What is a fibrin? What is fibrin? Fibrin is a protein. Write it down. Fibrin is a protein. You okay with that? All right, so now your room is a vessel. Now, let's do something. Open the door. Open the door. Opening the door, everybody is trying to escape. Who is going to escape? The red blood cells. Right? It's like you are injuring your vessels. Open the door of your room, the vessels start to go out. That is called hemorrhage, bleeding. Okay? So we need to stop the bleeding somehow, right? So what is doing? So team B, that are the platelets, is the first one who act. The first one who is going to act. So the platelets say, oh my God, there is bleeding here. So what we are going to do? All right. So what are doing the platelets are going to hug each other. They're hugging each other like good friends. They're hugging. And these hugging are going to create like a mass of platelets. And that is going to try to block the door in order not to escape red blood cells. You okay with that? That is number one that happened. But you know what? These guys are very good guys, but they are not strong enough. The mass is not going to be so hard. So they need help. And who is going to help now? Are going to be the team C. Who is the team C? The fibrin. Is after the platelets, the fibrin is going to come in to help. The fibrin is going to be like comparison of the platelets create a mass that are not so solid. But the cement are going to be added wires. These wiring are going to make the structure very hard. And that wires are going to be the fibrin. So the fibrin, then when they see the platelets struggling, the fibrin is coming and is going to be part of the platelets. And that is where your blood becomes hard, what we call a clot. You okay with that? All right. So let's do the recap again. All right. So let's elaborate. All right. So listen to this, please. Based on that example, you're going to call a clot is the same to say thrombus, thrombus, thrombus. The plural for thrombus is thrombi, thrombi. And this clot is going to be having three components: red blood cells plus platelets. Where is coming the red blood cell? Because when they are trying to hug each other, they are going to trap some red blood cells in between. Platelets. And they are going to be the fibrin. The fibrin. So that is a clot. Question for the exam. Clot is not just platelets. Clot is not just fibrin. Clot are not just red blood cells. Clot are going to be three of them. Not only one, not only two. They need to be three of them. Three of them. Red blood cells, platelets, and fibrin. Is that clear?
Yes.
Otherwise, that is not a clot. Platelets are going to be the primary hemostasia. Hemostasia. And what happened is the platelet aggregation. Platelet aggregation. Aggregation means they are going to hug each other. Going to put here in quote here, hugging. Okay? Then what happened? If we have primary hemostasia, we have secondary hemostasia, correct? And that is the addition of the fibrin into the component. And that is going to be the deposit of fibrin. So you already know what is primary and what is secondary hemostasia. I don't want to add more, because you will say there's many more that's coming. This is huge, important, because you're going to talk about heparin, coumadin, NSAIDs, anticoagulants, antiplatelets. So that is the base. If you know this, you will not have problems later on. So please just remember the basic thing. We are going to talk more detail when we talk about in anatomy physiology. But this, remember what is actually, all this process is called the hemostasia. 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 Okay?
So Dr. G, the
Yes.
fibrin is just it's a protein that is suspended in the blood.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
it's not a platelet, but it just works with the platelets.
Yes. No, fibrin can be in other parts, but fibrin could be part of other structures as a protein. But the main function of the fibrin will be the formation of a clot.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. So I will leave that here for a moment. I will see you at 1 p.m. Is that okay? 1 2. Okay. 1 2.
That's
All
fine.
right. Okay, guys. Thank you. I will see you at 1 2. How's the speed, by the way? Be okay? It's too slow, too
Yeah.
fast?
It's good.
That's good.
It's good? Okay. Excellent. Hello. I'm sorry. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so all right, so platelets, called thrombocytes, a small regular shape of 2-3 micrograms, is very small. It's like 1/3 of the red blood cell, produced by the bone marrow through the megakaryocytes. Stimulate the thrombopoietin, right? Is produced by the liver. That's what we mentioned. And actually withdrawal of homeostasis. See, homeostasis is not homeostasis. I mean, homeos, yeah. Uh, Sorry, homeostasis, hemostasia. Oh my God. So this is wrong here. Right, hemostasia. Hemostasia. Okay. You okay with that? We all right? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we have when it's too high, it's going to produce thrombosis. When the platelets are too high, are going to be actually called thrombosis. The number of platelets is going to be 150,000 up to 450,000 per ml. So that is basically the number of platelets that we have in the in blood. That is the normal value. Okay, so a process of thrombosis means the thrombosis is the process of formation of a clot. Thrombosis, thrombosis. One of the causes of thrombosis is when the blood is not moving. Not moving. It's called stasis. So cut your finger and have a like a small needle there, and they start to bleed, right? And the blood, there is a moment that is not moving, and that round drop of blood are going to become actually not moving, and when the blood is not moving, produce a clot. One of the three causes of clot. That rest we will talk in anatomy physiology. So what is thrombosis? Thrombosis is the process of formation of a clot. Okay? All right, so the platelets we have the primary hemostasia or hemostasis is going to be the platelets. The secondary is going to be the fibrin, the fibrin, the fibrin. Okay? All right, so we are going to talk about the laboratory tests, that is the rest we are going to talk in anatomy physiology. So for this, I'm going to do this part. All right. So we have different values. The prothrombin time they call the PT, prothrombin time, and the partial thromboplastin time. It's called the PTT. PTT. This is going to be about 15 to 30 seconds. It's a laboratory test. And here we have PTT more than 30 seconds, 30 to 40 seconds. Okay? All right. So now, this PTT is actually going to tell you, for example, if you give heparin, heparin is an anticoagulant. It's no time to talk about that, but we are measuring if you give too much heparin or too low. If you give too much heparin, that is an anticoagulant, all right? If you give too much of this substance, you can have risk for bleeding, So the normal value are going to be 15 to 30 seconds, and the PTT more than 30 seconds. This is going to be variable according to the laboratory test. All right, so how to remember PT versus PTT? PT, they have two letters, 15. And PTT, sorry?
Oh, sorry.
And PTT is going to be 30. All right, so it's going to be 30 and 50. So that is a way to remember. Now, there is another laboratory test that is called the International Normalized Ratio. And that is called the INR. What is the INR? INR is going to be the PT over the value of PT. But this PT is from the patient. And that is from the laboratory standard. How to remember that? PT, first of all, first is the patient. Always first is the patient, you have to remember. And second is the laboratory test. So PT, first of the patient, over the PT over the laboratory standard. The values are going to be normal values. This is normal value of PT, INR. Normal values of INR are going to be 1 to 1.5. If you have more, you have 1 to 1.5. If there is more than 1.5, that is a risk for bleeding. If there is less than 1, the INR, that is a risk for clotting. Okay? You okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. There is much more to talk. This is the Christmas tree. So the basically the basics. So the rest we are going to talk about in AMP. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. All right, so I think we will have time to finish this on time. All right, so let's talk about the vessels. All right, and the question is how the vessels are going, how the blood is the first question I was giving you at the beginning, how the blood is going to return to the heart based on what we was talking about, the gravity. Okay? All right. So tell me, all right. So we have two types of blood, right? The oxygenated blood that is called the arterial blood. Arterial blood or oxygenated blood. You okay with that? And we have the deoxygenated blood or the venous blood. Venous blood versus the arterial blood. Arterial blood contains oxygen. Deoxygenated blood or venous blood have low, very low levels of oxygen. What mostly they have is carbon dioxide, right? Carbon dioxide. You already know this carbon dioxide is coming from the byproduct of the metabolism of Krebs cycle. You okay with that? So every single cell from the 100 trillion cells that we have in our body, all of them, they need ATPs. All of them do Krebs cycle. All of them are going to release carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide go from the cell to the blood. And from the blood, they go back to the heart to be pumped to the lungs to exhale the carbon dioxide and inhale new oxygen. Okay with that? Okay. So now, but the arterial blood are going to run from the heart to the rest of the body. From the heart to the rest of the body. And the venous blood are going to go back from the rest of the body towards the heart against gravity. You okay with that? Tell me, can you see the veins in your arms? Those are veins, correct? And tell me one thing. The blood is running towards your hand or towards your shoulder? That blood in your veins. Which pathway which direction is going to take? Towards your hand or towards your shoulder?
To the shoulder.
Everybody got that?
Yeah.
That is the venous return. Venous return. Why venous return? Because they are returning to the heart. Is the deoxygenated blood. Is the venous blood. You okay with that? All right. So let's get started. So for this, I need to make the difference between artery and veins. This is the way we are going to understand how the blood is coming back to the heart. So the arterial blood, oxygenated blood, they don't have problems. They go towards gravity. So gravity is going to help to distribute the blood, right? And the venous return is difficult because it's going to be against the gravity. So for that, I need to start talking about this. This is, I'm going to talk here, no, too big. I'm going to talk here about an artery. This is an artery. And the artery are going to have this lumen. You know, everybody will know what is lumen, right? Lumen. This lumen, we have, the artery have three layers. Three layers. These three layers are going to be the outer layer here. The outer layer is called the tunica externa. Or the adventitia. Adventitia. That is the name. So tunica adventitia or tunica externa. Or you can call the outer layer. There is three ways to call it. Okay, outer layer. Then we have here in the middle are going to be a very thick structure that is the tunica media. And this tunica media is formed by a smooth muscle. So these smooth muscles are going to lead into vasodilation or vasoconstriction, depends. You okay with that? And here, the inner layer is called the tunica intima or endothelium. Or tunica interna. The most common to call is the tunica externa, tunica media, and the tunica intima. Endothelium is not common too. Okay? We okay with that? All right. Now, let's draw a vein. A vein is going to be, in comparison to the arteries, are going to be bigger. And you will see the lumen is going to be bigger too. Okay? So this outer layer is called the tunica externa, outer or adventitia. This muscle, thin muscle, can you see this thin muscle? Is thin compared to the artery. It's much more thinner. It's going to be the tunica media. It's going to be thinner. Thinner. And this artery, the tunica media, is going to be thicker. Okay? All right, so now, here, this inner lining is going to be called as well the tunica intima. So basically, if you see the whole picture, we have arteries and veins. They have the three layers: adventitia, media, and intima. And the difference between them is that the tunica media is much more thinner than the artery. Is that okay? We okay with that?
Yes.
All right. Now, in addition to that, the veins are going to have bulbs. Bulbs. What are these bulbs doing? So listen to this. Look at this. Can you see my hands?
Yes.
Yeah.
I see it.
Yeah, okay. Because I don't know. You see, okay. So the bulbs, first of all, the blood is going to go from here down up towards the heart. But what happens if the blood is coming all the way up? By gravity, the blood are going to tend to go down, correct? So it's going to be like this, because the blood is going towards the heart, but the blood by gravity go back. So that's why we have the bulbs. The bulbs are going to be like this. Look at it. The bulbs are not like that. The bulbs are going to go like this. So if when the blood is coming, the valves are going to open. But when the blood is trying to come back, they are going to close. So the blood is not going to go all the way down. We okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. So now, if you going to have an artery, this is the artery. Can you see this, please? Artery, right?
Yeah.
If you have this artery, look at this. When I press the artery, look at this, what happened. They are going to do this. I push in the artery. Right? But if I push the vein, let's suppose that this is the vein, what is going to do is this. When I push the vein is going to do this. You okay with that?
Yeah.
All right. So when you are actually compressing the vein because the vein is collapsible, this is collapsible because of the thin layer of the tunica media. So now, if you squeeze the vein, they're going to basically move the blood that is inside, squeeze, and they are going to project towards the heart. And when the blood is actually going in that direction, the valves are going to help to make the blood go in one direction. So if the blood is the vein is squeezed, the blood is going to open the valves, and they are going to make going to the heart. But when the blood is trying to come back, the valves are going to close. Okay, so that is telling you how the blood is going to go towards the heart. That is one of the main components. That is the beginning. You okay with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Saying that, let me see if I missed something. All right, so arteries, blood vessels that carries blood from the heart to the body. Okay, helped by the gravity. Veins, a blood vessel that carries blood from the capillaries, so we are going to talk about that, towards the heart. All veins except the pulmonary vein carry an oxygenated blood. So they have valves. Collapsible, the veins are collapsible vessels with diminished tunica media, because the tunica media is very thin compared to the artery. Veins appear collapsed because they have little elastic tissue or muscle within the walls. Large total diameter. So the vessels, for example, we have the radial artery are companion with the radial vein. We have the femoral artery companion with the femoral vein. So each artery and vein are going to be like always running together. It's like Highway 101 and Highway 280, right? So they are going to be actually highways, right? And always actually go, the name of one artery in an area is the same name of the vein in the same area. So we have, and the veins are going to be more diameter than the artery, a small diameter, but the difference is that the arteries contain a very thick tunica media, the veins a very thin tunica media, and the veins contain valves, but the arteries do not contain valves. You okay with that?
Got it.
Okay, perfect. All right, so just to finish this, I want to go over this. Look at this. We have the heart, and the heart is going to lead to arteries. That is going to pump. The heart, when it's pumping, is taking the blood from the aorta, that is an artery. And remember, the arteries, as they go distal, so as they go more far away from the heart, the vessels become smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. The more branches that you have, the more smaller is going to become the branches. So from the artery are going to turn into arteriole. Arteriole is, this is artery, arteriole is smaller, and then we have a capillar. Capillar is very tiny, very tiny, very tiny. And then they are going to pass through the venule. The venule is going to be bigger, and the veins are going to be much bigger. So that is how the blood flow is going to go. From artery, here we have the artery. Look at this. This is the artery. This is the artery. The artery is going to lead into arteriole. And the arteriole is going to lead into capillaries. All this is capillaries. Capillaries. All these in the center are the capillaries. Then after the capillaries go, they are going to form the venule. This venule that is smaller than the vein. And then are going to lead into the vein. Is that clear or no, please?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So now, the last thing, before go to complete the idea. So, all right. So now, the artery and arteriole and venule and vein are going to just transport blood. But where is happening the delivery of nutrients, oxygen, and receive the carbon dioxide are going to be the capillaries. So this is the distribution. All right, so I will say this. The tracks of UPS or Amazon are going to be the arteries and arterioles, venules and veins. So they're going to just transport. The package is inside the track. The track is going to be the blood vessel, right? What vessel is that? The track is called artery, arteriole, or called venule or vein. Then the track park in front of your house, and that is going to what it's doing is take the box, the package, and put it in your house, in your door. So that is the function of the capillary. So the distribution where the nutrients are going to get to the cell, in other words, when the cell receive the nutrients, the oxygen, the fats, the carbohydrates, the proteins are going to be through the capillaries. You okay with that?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
When is that happening? That happened because the capillaries, they have openings here, small openings in the capillaries. So if I draw a capillary here, the capillary are going to have openings. These openings are called pores. And that is where the water is going to get the nutrients, all the carbohydrates, all the proteins here. So here is where you're going to happen the distribution. And the rest are going to be just the transportation. Is that clear or no, please?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, perfect. So now the capillar, all of them, the artery, the arteriole, the venule, and the vein, all of them, they have three layers. The tunica intima, the tunica media, and the adventitia or the outer layer, right? So 3 layers. But the capillary only have 1 layer. 1 layer. That layer is the tunica intima. It's going to be the tunica intima. Now, this tunica is only 1 layer. It's so tiny. It's very, very tiny. It's very, very tiny. The capillaries are very, very tiny. That only are so tiny that they have a space to pass only 1 red blood cell at a time. Only 1 red blood cell at a time. Only 1 red cell at a time. So they're making a line, basically. Okay, the size of the capillary are going to be very close to the size of a red blood cell. We okay with that?
Got it.
But the red blood cells are too big to pass through the pores. So they are going to be pores like this size. Pores like this size. So these pore size are not going to allow, because the pores are very tiny compared to the red blood cell. The red blood cell cannot pass because red blood cell is too big for the pore. The only thing that are going to pass are going to be water, are going to pass electrolytes, macronutrients, micronutrients, etc. Okay? And remember, the flow are going to go from the arterial side to the venous side. So that is the flow. Why? Who is pushing the arterial blood? Arterial blood is pushed by the heart. The heart is what is pumping. The heart is what is pumping the blood outside of the heart, and they are going to, with that force, are going to press, are going to push the blood towards the tissue. The blood pressure, 120/80 millimeters of mercury. That is the pressure that the heart develops in order to push the blood towards the tissue. You okay with that? Is that clear or no, please?
Yes.
All right, so now let's go to our not big mystery, but we are going to clarify that. How the venous return, how the venous blood are going to come back. Okay? All right, so let's start here. Let's different mechanisms. Let me see what I can start. Okay, so I'm going to go in this. All right, so number 1. Number 1 is when the blood is passing. I will show you the picture here better. One of the forces that are going to bring the blood towards the veins is the pressure of the arterial blood. The pressure of the arterial blood. Why? Because you have a red blood cell here, a red blood cell here, a red blood cell, but the blood is keep coming. So it's like you are in a line, and the person behind you is pushing you forward because they want to keep forward, right? So that is one of the forces, the pressure of the arterial blood. That is number 1 that actually helps for the venous return. Venous return. All right, so the pressure of the arterial blood. So whatever the blood is coming from behind are going to push the blood towards the vein. You okay with that?
Yes.
Second, we have what we call the second heart. Do you know we have the second heart? It's called second heart, like what here? Second heart. What is the second heart? Look at this. Here we have the lower extremities, the legs, and here we have 2 strong muscles. These are called the gastrocnemius muscle. Gastrocnemius muscle. You need to know that for example. These gastrocnemius muscles are one here, one gastrocnemius muscle, another gastrocnemius muscle. In the other lower extremity, we have one gastrocnemius muscle. That is basically the calf. Correct? You okay with that? You follow me, please? All right. So now, these gastrocnemius muscle are going to get attached here to the calcaneus, that is one of the bone of the foot, and through a tendon. This tendon is called the Achilles tendon. Famous, right? You can touch your Achilles tendon. Touch your Achilles tendon, right? So the lower up behind the foot, you have like a cord there close to the foot. That is the Achilles tendon. You okay with that?
Yes.
Now, here in the center, in between and under this gastrocnemius muscle, in between and under, are going to run a vein. A vein. This vein have bulbs. Bulbs here. Bulbs here at the same level of the bulbs. So there are going to be bulbs running here. Bulbs, bulbs, bulbs. So now, when you are walking, when you walk, or you extend or flex your foot or extend your foot, you are contracting the muscles. Contraction of the muscles. Contraction of the muscles. This contraction of the muscles are going to squeeze the vein that is in between the is going to contract. Why? They are going to when they contract, they collapse. The veins are going to collapse. Collapse of the vein. This collapse of the vein is because the tunica media is very, very thin. And this is going to squeeze the blood, and the only direction they can go is upwards. Why? Because the bulbs are not going to allow to go in the opposite direction. You okay with that?
Yes, got it.
Can you see this? This is the gastrocnemius muscle. Gastrocnemius muscle. When you walk, that is going to squeeze the blood. And look at this. The blood is going to go in those two directions, one down and one up. But down they cannot go more than this because the bulbs are going to close. Bulbs are closed. And the only one, the pressure here on the blood by squeezing by the gastrocnemius muscle, they're going to open the bulbs to go towards the heart. If you see here, look like a heart, right? Look like a heart. And that's why the gastrocnemius muscles are going to be called the second heart. You okay with that?
Yes, makes sense.
Okay. So now, when you travel more than 10 hours, 12 hours in the airplane, you're not moving. You are not moving. So you're sitting down all the time. So you are not contracting the gastrocnemius muscle. So what happened? The blood is keep coming because of the arterial pressure that keep pushing blood towards the veins. And there is so much pressure here, they're going to create so much pressure that the water starts to escape. And by gravity, they go to your feet. So after 10, 12 hours, you put your shoes, and you remove the shoes at the beginning of the flight, and you're not standing up or walking during the trip. Your feet are going to be swollen, and when you try to put your shoes, it's not going to fit up. Somebody have that experience? Hello?
I haven't.
Right? Now you understand how. So homework. You need to travel 10 hours, 12 hours, and then you will tell me. Okay? Without moving. Okay? So in the airplane, Marilyn, they tell you, the flight hostess or the attendant is telling you, you need to move, you need to walk, you need to do your leg like this, your feet like that, in order to contract the gastrocnemius muscle, in order to make it actually go the venous return appropriately to the heart to prevent edema. You okay with that?
Yes.
And there is another factor that I'm going to mention that is between. Oh, there you are. There you are. Okay. Okay. Oh, by the way, the dilation, listen to this, please. A dilation of abnormal dilation of arteries or artery is called aneurysm. Abnormal dilation of veins are going to be called what? Varix or varicose veins. So don't tell me that dilation of the, this is not vasodilation. Huh? This is not vasodilation. Vasodilation, vasoconstriction are normal things that happen in the vessels. This is an abnormal dilation that is permanent of the wall of the vessel. If this is an artery, it's called aneurysm. If this is actually a vein, distended vein are going distended or dilation, we put distended, abnormal distension. That is permanent. The same for the veins. Distension are going to be called varix for the vein, V vein, A artery, aneurysm. Is that clear?
Yes.
All right, another thing, and the last thing that we are going to see today is we have number one, the arterial pressure that is pushing the venous return, right? Venous return. Arterial pressure that is pushing from behind, right, to keep moving the blood. Number two, we have the valves. Number three, we have the second heart. I'm going to ask you as this as a gastrocnemius muscle. And number four is going to be the difference of pressure between the thorax and the abdomen. Okay, so for this, I want to, the number four is very important as well. Oh my God, I discarded. All right, so tell me, when you open a hose, you want to water your plants, correct? Okay, so you open the hose, not the water, it's going to run the water to the hose, and imagine your hose is going to be 1 mile distant. Tell me, the amount of they're going to probably water is going to come out water from the hose, but it's going to be a small pressure or big pressure.
Small pressure.
A small pressure, but you have a hose that they have probably 3 yards long, and the water start to be very strong, still strong, right? Yes or no? Everybody follow me?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to tell you is that where is the highest pressure? The highest pressure will be at the hose, and lower pressure will be in the distal portion of the hose, correct? So what I'm trying to tell you is that water flows from going from higher pressure to lower pressure, and this pressure is going to be bigger than the next one, and bigger than the next one, and bigger than the next one. So that is how the water is going to flow. You cannot flow from lower pressure to higher pressure because they are going to accumulate, correct? Is understood? Right? Okay.
Yes.
So that is what happened with the body again. All right. So we agree that the fluid runs from higher pressure to lower pressure, not the opposite. Now, the abdomen and the thorax, inside, we have pressures. If you, for example, I will tell you a very rough example. You see big bellies, right? Big bellies. You see big bellies, and you touch the belly. It's very hard, correct? It's very tense, right? Because inside the abdomen, there's a lot of pressure. Proof of that, well, I saw patients who having wounds on the abdomen. They have opening in the abdomen, and you know what? The intestines start to come out. I saw people coming with a towel, with the intestines in the towel, because they have a wound in the abdomen. Why? Because the pressure on the abdomen is higher than the atmospheric pressure outside. So that's why the intestines are coming out. We okay with that? Now,
Yes.
when you have a wound on the thorax, when you have a wound on the thorax, the wound on the thorax, the pressures on the thorax are going to be smaller than outside, the opposite than the abdomen. So we have lower pressures inside the thorax and higher pressure outside in the environment. So when you have a wound, what happened? The air is going to vacuum into the thorax. And what happened with the lungs? The lungs are going to totally shrink. So in conclusion, we have the abdomen positive pressure and the thorax negative pressure. So that positive and negative is telling you that abdomen have higher pressures than the thorax inside. You okay with that? Now, there is a hose running inside our body. The hose is going to be the inferior vena cava. The inferior vena cava. The inferior vena cava, and let me see if I have a picture here. Probably this. Okay, let's do this. Okay, so let's see. Here's going to be the heart. This is the heart. Here we have the diaphragm. The diaphragm rank here. That is the diaphragm. So this is the upper portion is the thorax, where is the heart, and here is the abdomen. The hose that we was mentioned is this blue. Can you see this blue? All this. This is the inferior vena cava. The inferior vena cava, or called short the IVC. So these are collecting the blood from all the lower extremities, from all the lower extremities coming this way, lower extremities coming this way. They're going to collect and form the IVC. They are going to drain all internal organs, and they go to the thorax, and they go to the heart, draining into the heart. So the blood is going to go in this direction. One of the forces is the abdomen has higher pressure here, more pressure, and here we have lower pressure, like the hose and the water that I was mentioning. So higher pressure here, higher pressure in the abdomen with the lower pressure on the thorax, that is going to basically help the blood flow going into the heart. You okay with that?
Got it.
So venous return are going to be helped by the arterial blood pressure, by the valves, by the second heart, the gastrocnemius muscle, and number 4, by the difference between pressures between the pressure difference between the thorax and the abdomen. So that is how the blood venous return are going to go towards the heart. We okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now we have 10 minutes. So this is exactly what we was talking. Oh, by the way, one more thing I want to add here is this. before I forgot. That's what I was writing down there because, okay. So we have here, look at this, please. Tell me what I'm drawing.
Bone.
What is that?
Bone marrow.
Bone marrow. Bone.
The red bone marrow. Please, this is red bone marrow too, okay? The red bone marrow have one special event that you need to know. Here is going to happen what? The hematopoiesis. Hematopoiesis. Poiesis means formation. Hemato means blood. Hematopoiesis. Where is that happening? In the red bone marrow. Okay? Hematopoiesis are going to have a process called the erythropoiesis. That is the formation of red blood cells. Hematopoiesis is going to produce white cells, there is no name for that, and the platelets. Platelets. Okay? So that is the, please, I don't want you to get confused between erythropoiesis. Erythro means red. Erythro means red. It's part of the hematopoiesis. Hematopoiesis is the blood. Hematopoiesis involves red blood cells, white cells, and platelets. Erythropoiesis is not hematopoiesis. Erythropoiesis is part, a component of the hematopoiesis. Erythropoiesis just means production of just red blood cells. Is that clear?
It's clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So with this, we finish the class. Let's go to the math. I think this math is actually a little bit more elaborate, right? Somebody can tell me, please, which one you want to do. Please, seconds are passing very fast.
We can just start with example 1 and then move forward.
All right. Okay. All right. So here's a trick. Okay. I will a trick that with that you will get so many. I mean, you're going to develop a lot. All right. So let me see here. For this, I think I'm going to do some more easier example for other forms. Let's keep this for a moment, okay? So now I want to know, here we have this is bag of dextrose 5%, right? It's called D 5% in water. What is dextrose? As you already know, dextrose is glucose, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So if this bag is going to be an IV, they're going to put a line into the arm, they're going to, etc., right? So this dextrose is going to have 1 liter, 1,000 ml. 1,000 ml. All right, so keep in mind this. You have 1 liter of that bag, mostly they're coming in 250 ml or 500 ml, or they're coming with 1,000 ml, 1 liter, right? And dextrose 5%. So 5%, that is the concentration of the glucose in that actually volume, 1,000 ml. My question is, how many grams of glucose are in these 1,000 ml? Visualize that. You want to know how much sugar, glucose, are in 1,000 ml in that concentration, in the dextrose 5% in water. Okay? You visualize that?
Yes.
Okay, now, excellent. So how we are going to resolve this? Very simple. What is the key? The key is this. That is the key. That is the key. If they tell you 5%, that means that you have 5 grams in percent. Percent, cent means 100. So that means that 5%, you have 5 grams in 100 mLs. How many grams are going to have in 1,000 mLs? Simple or no? And then you multiply, divide, you have X equal 5 grams times 1,000 mLs divided by 100 mLs. mLs and mLs, goodbye. 2 zeros, goodbye. 2 zeros, goodbye. Have 1 zero here. 5 times 10 is 50 grams. So that means that we have 50 grams of glucose in that 1,000 mLs. Nice or not?
Yes.
Another example, and let's make revenge here. You have another that is telling you in 1,000 mLs, and you have now 0.9 normal saline solution. NS means normal saline solution. Normal saline solution is definitely is actually sodium. Normal saline means sodium. Okay? Okay?
Yes, we're okay.
0.9%, sorry. 0.9% normal solution. Okay, now I want to know how many grams of sodium are in this solution. And then what is the key? The key is 0.9%. So if I have 0.9 grams in percent per 100 mLs, how many grams of sodium I will have in 1,000 mLs? And you do the multiplication, division is 0.9 grams times 1,000 mLs divided by 100 mLs, and mLs, goodbye, 1 to 0, goodbye, 1 to 0, goodbye. I have 10 here. It's going to be 9 grams of sodium. Nice or not?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the exercise that we have there, let's resolve that. If an IV solution contains 5 grams of 5% of glucose, and you have 700 mLs IV, how much glucose are in this? So what is the trick here? 5%. 5 grams in 100 mLs equal how many grams of glucose I have in 700 mLs. And the solution will be 700 mLs times 5 grams divided by 100 mLs. mLs and mLs, goodbye. 0 and 0, 0 and 0, goodbye. 7 times 5 is 35 grams of glucose. Easy or not?
It's good, Dr. J.
Excellent. Okay. Wow, 2 o'clock. See, very good time. So tell me, Aaron, how was the class today?
It was good. I love the pace. It was great. Explained everything. No complaints.
Okay, thank you. Miss Oh.
Yeah, the class, everything is clear. even the med too.
Math. Okay, you like the math one again.
Yes.
Marilyn, what was your favorite topic today? Or no
Definitely.
favorite? Or everything?
Well, definitely going over.
What?
Just the difference between arteries and veins. How you went
Okay,
over
that's your
that, and then
favorite?
the whole, yeah, and the whole
Okay.
process of that, including the math too. So thank you.
Okay. Marcel, please, your opinion.
Class was good. I liked going over the factors that contribute to venous blood return. Yeah, it was just interesting.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you so much. And I will see you next Monday, this coming Monday.
Are we
Okay.
gonna do a review
Reviews?
again?
Yes, on Sunday.
Okay. Like 7 o'clock again?
Yeah, 7 o'clock is okay, I guess. Yes, because everybody wants to sleep early. Okay, so I'm happy. Tell me how much. Now, tell me one thing. I want you to feel the difference. When you start a class today about blood, how much you know and how much do you know right now? Okay, so that is 2 steps forward in what is in your education in the school. Drop by drop, you're going to accumulate so much information that actually make you feel different at the end. I'm so happy that you're here. I hope you enjoy the class as much as I enjoy. Next class is going to be my favorite class. So let's keep going in the same pace. And I can tell that this group is doing very good. So keep doing your best, please. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I will see you next time.
Thank you, Dr. G.
Thank you, Dr. Chi.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will stay until the end if somebody have a question or something. Thank you. Thank you.